Hey there, friends and enemies. JoPaWrites here once again, and today I have another brand new video for you. This one is going to be our video game Himbo tournament. If you haven't seen these before, what we do is we match up all of the top Himbos in video games and see who's going to come out on top. Chat is able to vote on Twitch on who they think is going to be the winner. You can use channel points in order to progress your favorite a couple times during the tournament, and it's an absolute blast. Next week, actually 2 weeks from now, we are gonna do the video game villain tournament. So this week is Himbos, and 2 weeks, because we do them every other week, is going to be video game villains. We're gonna do a top 32. It's gonna be awesome. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously, and we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So thank you all so much for that. I really do appreciate it. Now, let's go over the rules of this tournament. As always, we have our contestants who we're going to vote on. Chat is going to vote first and foremost on who they think should win. Every person in chat has the ability to automatically advance their favorite 2 times. So they can use a channel point option to progress their favorite twice during the tournament, which really shook things up last week. As Chun-Li took it and Bayonetta was shockingly discarded a lot sooner than I think most people expected because of that. So that is a first come first serve option as well, which is very interesting. Anyway, if you enjoy these types of things, I'm very happy to keep doing this because it's a lot of fun. It definitely shakes up the video game grind of just playing games all the time. So I'm really excited to jump in. Anyway, I hope you guys are ready as we are going to jump in. We're going to talk about the first couple Himbos we have. Oh, let me explain what Himbos are if you are unfamiliar. A Himbo is a handsome yet not super intelligent man. Now, the definition can be stretched a little bit, but normally they're going to be a good guy who is lovable, but not the sharpest tool in the shed. So you're going to see some characters on here that are going to be pretty interesting, and keep that in mind as you're voting, because some characters are going to be really, really good characters, but maybe they're not the perfect Himbo. So anyway, we're going to jump into it with round 1. We've got Alistair from Dragon Age versus Reinhardt from Overwatch. Now, Alistair is one of the favorites in this tournament because he is a classic Himbo. Like, he's a little doofy, pretty handsome, ends up kind of progressing as the character goes along, and you're able to make him your one of your love interests if you play a female character. But yeah, he is pretty much the definition of a Himbo. But then we've got Reinhardt, who I didn't realize was a Himbo, but it was just like a big kind of lovable knight character, father figure to Brigitte, whatever you call her. But as far as I know, they've done some background on him. He does have some Himbo tendencies, but I don't know if he fits the mold as well as Alistair. So, in my opinion, Alistair advances here, and it's not particularly close. But that's just my opinion. I think Alistair is the clear front runner in this particular instance. And he is going to move on. Now, we have some characters who are probably going to be lesser known for a lot of folks. Masaharu Kaito from Judgment. Now, I saw him on a bunch of lists of being a pure himbo, and I found it interesting. So, apparently, he is from the Yakuza offshoot series Judgment, and he's kind of a police captain who definitely falls into your typical himbo traps, right? He'll he wears his flashy clothes, will get himself in trouble pretty much all the time, and ends up being a perfect video game himbo. But then we've got Mr. Torg from Borderlands. Now, this is interesting because I didn't think of him as one, but I had a few comments on Twitter of folks who said they really thought he would be one. So he's more like, and this is where the line gets crossed a little bit for me. He, for me, feels more like a pure meathead rather than a himbo, because I feel like himbos typically are supposed to be more lovable, more like, oh, he's sweet and he's trying his best, you know what I'm saying? Whereas this guy feels a little bit more aggressive, more in your face. So that's why, in my opinion, even though I didn't know much about him before, Masahiro Kaito wins this personally. Now, this might be an upset for some, but I think it's not so crazy. Anyone who objects, drop your votes for Mr. Torg, but I think we have our winner. Now, this particular tournament, because there's less characters, is going to be very, very interesting, because we might end up seeing some favorites advancing regularly until we get towards the end, which is when it's going to get really spicy. And up next, we have my personal favorite in the tournament. If you don't know about Saint 14, let me tell you. Saint 14 is a classic character in Destiny. We rescued him from time. He has some incredible voice lines in the game where he just wants to sing and dance and have fun, and even in the midst of like terrible conflict, he's all about that himbo life, and I absolutely love him. And if I was picking this tournament, he's probably, like, by myself, he's probably winning it all. If you don't know about Saint 14, definitely do some research, because he is great. But now we have Alex from Stardew Valley. This is another character. I never played Stardew Valley, so I didn't know about him. But he is a traditional jock, doesn't want to study, doesn't want to do anything of that nature. He just wants to do his thing. And when I saw him recommended multiple times, I was like, all right, let's see how much of a himbo he actually is. And he does fit that to a T. Unfortunately for me personally, I'm going to vote for Saint 14 just because I don't think Alex is more of like a jock meathead type, and not necessarily as like he doesn't fit the perfect himbo mold like Saint 14 does for me, and that's just a personal preference. So all right, we have Saint 14 moving on. Now, this one's interesting because we have Nathan Drake, who is weird in that he's on this list because he is like smart. He solves a bunch of problems, like when he's doing his quests and his adventures and whatnot. But he also does some dumb things that you would definitely move him towards the himbo list. Then we have Johnny Cage, who I feel like is probably the pretty boy himbo to a T. Let's go. Now Nathan Drake doesn't really look like a himbo. He's kind of rugged and kind of a classic look, especially in some of these other images. Whereas then you have Johnny Cage, who, in my opinion, definitely gives off some Johnny Bravo vibes. And because of that, like, if I think of in fiction, a himbo who is spot on, Johnny Bravo is that guy. That's the ultimate himbo, in my opinion. Johnny Cage falls in line very much with that same kind of idea. And so, for that reason, Johnny Cage is moving on over Nathan Drake. Now we have OG Dante. Not the new one. The new one's a little bit more emo, whereas the older one was definitely more of a himbo. Although he's still pretty edgy, so this is going to be a tough one because I think as a character he's great, right? I really do enjoy Dante from DMC. But then we have Dan from Street Fighter, who, by all accounts, is just like a pure himbo. Okay, everything is taking a second to load. Come on. Of course, I would have some internet issues. All right, let's see. Whoops. All right, well, this is fun. There we go. Okay. So Dan from Street Fighter, if you weren't aware, is very much a doofy himbo, arrogant, overconfident, and feeble self-taught martial artist that runs a failing dojo. Now, the arrogance and overconfidence means like he's might be not as lovable of a doof. So, as much as I kind of am going back and forth on it, I think Dante wins. Because Dan is a doof, but like he's also kind of a jerk, and that's not really full himbo in my opinion. All right, now we have Titus versus Mirage. Well, Dante is a jerk too, but like I don't know. Dante still is a lovable jerk, whereas Dan sometimes is less so. Now we have Titus from Final Fantasy versus Mirage. All right, I don't know what is happening right now. Everything is being super slow. Let me try something. So for whatever reason, the reason I use Bing, which is kind of weird, or this browser is, it seems to load a lot faster normally when I'm streaming, and I don't understand it. But let's see, that's not the case today. So what the fuck? All right. So Titus is an interesting case because come on, there we go. He's part himbo, but part like just like kind of a moron. And of all the like, I really liked this game, but he annoyed me a lot to a level which I was not ready. So I don't know. I kind of hold that against him a little bit. Whereas then you have Mirage from Apex, who, when I think of the biggest himbos on this list, I think of Mirage, I think of Saint 14, and I think of Alistair from Dragon Age. That might be just me personally, but like he's it's a combination for me of smart, a little doofy, but lovable characters. That's what to me is like the perfect encapsulation of a himbo. And yeah, I get that. It's just for me he's kind of just always confused, and so like I don't know. I don't really care for him as a character, so that I kind of hold it against him. But I would vote Mirage in this particular instance because Titus is not my favorite, even though he does have some himbo qualities to him. Are we agreeing on that? Titus is or Mirage is moving on? Even for different reasons. Gotcha. All right, now we have Brick versus Waka. So Brick is another one who I really think falls right into that himbo mold. He's big, not that smart. Maybe a little bit too cliche as one of those big meatheads, but I love him, man. He's such a good character, and I really enjoy the fact that they make him kind of a fun meathead. You know what I'm saying? But then we have Waka. Now, from the same Final Fantasy game, Waka is Waka's interesting because I feel like he is kind of a meathead, but he's also kind of like a racist in that universe. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, as much as I Walk as an interesting character, I think I would vote Brick in this particular instance, just because Walk is lovable and kind of doofy, but also, yeah, I feel like he does have. There are things about him that are he's just blissfully unaware of, and that's what kind of has himbo tendencies. But yeah, he's kind of a jerk and doesn't really fit as well as some of the other characters on this list. But we had to make up the numbers a little bit. Now this is gonna be. I feel like this is gonna be a no-brainer. We have Zell, who definitely a meathead, definitely a has himbo qualities, but kind of more of a edgy character rather than just pure himbo. Whereas we've had a lot of Final Fantasy characters on this list, but this one is the best of all of them. Irvine, yeah, the probably this guy. You talk about a damn himbo. Hilda, oh my goodness, like I just got to his some of his stuff in this game, and after doing a little bit of research, he is so ridiculously over the top, always flexing. He is like, look at this. This is what he shows up looking like in the game. Come on, abs out. He's flexing his guns in a lot of the scenes. This is a no-brainer in my personal opinion. Zell is got no shot against my man Hildy. Unless we get a vote to steal, which I don't think will happen because I feel like this is a pretty obvious answer. Alright, now we're going to round 2. Now we have Alistair versus Masahiro Kaito. Again, Alistair is one of my favorites just because I feel like he is, again, the perfect kind of idea for a himbo. What the attractive, doofy, and then lovable. I feel like lovable is a big part of it that draws me towards them, like me thinking that they're actually a himbo. Whereas like there's some characters who are doofy like that, but also like you're like, I don't really care for this character. And unfortunately, Alistair wins this one for me personally because Masahiro Kaito is a character who I just don't. Even after doing some research and looking at the games, he's in Judgment and the Judgment sequel, offshoot, whatever. He's just not a character I know enough about. I haven't played those games enough. Whereas Alistair is, I'm all in on Alistair. So Like, let's read a little bit of wiki about Masahiro. Oh, I messed up. He's in Judgment and Lost Judgment, former lieutenant, manager. He's current private investigator. What kind of person is he? Much smarter than he seems, though not as observant as his partner. Easygoing and caring. See, that's again, he doesn't feel like a perfect himbo like Alistair is, and for me, that's why Alistair advances. Saint 14 versus Johnny Cage. Now we're getting into the big boys, big boy matchups. Bro, what the? Again, before the last few seasons, I don't think I would have put Saint 14 up here. Just because we didn't get the voice lines and all the things that we've gotten since he's been reintroduced to the game. But, like, if there's one big lovable, I don't want to necessarily call him an oaf, but big lovable guy, you know what I'm saying? Who says some kind of doofy stuff. Saint 14 is the dude, right? Whereas Johnny Cage is more of, like I said, the Johnny Bravo himbo. Like, kind of super cocky. Wisecracking. What are the thoughts here? I'm leaning towards Saint 14, but I feel like this is a more of a toss up than some of the other ones we've seen. Like, look at this guy. Look at this one. Come on, man. Some of his recent stuff, he looks more. I don't know. College dude, bro, than maybe Himbo, but those are definitely some crossover. Not very Giant Cage, not very respectful. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that that's the difference. Like, there's the difference between how good they are as characters versus how much we think of them as himbos, and I do think Saint is more of a himbo character. OG Dante versus Mirage. This one I don't think is going to be super close. Because, again, I feel like Dante from A Devil May Cry is kind of a jerk. Kind of a bit edgier, you know what I'm saying? Not really a pure himbo, whereas Mirage is. Mirage is one of those. Like, Mirage versus Saint 14, now that would be a good matchup. But versus Dante, I just don't think Dante is on the same level as far as himbo-ness. And again, it all comes down to how you think of himbos. And in my personal opinion, Mirage is true himbo, yes. It is. It's that bit of wholesomeness that I feel like some of the characters on here, while they have himbo qualities, they're just missing. Now we have Brick versus Hildebrand. Again, Brick is a himbo, but he's more instead of just being doofy, he's kind of just a moron. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he's not, like, he is big and lovable, but handsome is a stretch, and he's going against a juggernaut, unfortunately. which is Hildebrandt. And this guy, like I said, I haven't played enough to really go through his entire storyline, but I don't think this is a close one, in my opinion. Although next round matchups are going to be wild, I think it's Hildebrandt, and it's not particularly close. I didn't know he had a T on his name, so I spelled his name wrong in the bracket. But what are we gonna do? Now, final four. Alistair versus Saint 14 and Mirage versus Hildebrandt. Now we are getting to the nitty gritty. So Alistair versus Saint 14 is probably the most prototypical Himbo matchups. This one I'm pretty split. Alistair is a character I really loved. I played Dragon Age since launch. It's one of my favorite series. And then we have Saint 14, who I knew about in the Destiny lore. Obviously, we had his helmet in Destiny 1. But in Destiny 2, it has kind of really become Uncle Saint, who I love. And I don't know. I don't know which way I'm leaning right now, to be honest. This is a very tough one. I do think I might be leaning. Looks like we got to vote for Saint. So, because it's a toss up for me, I think Saint barely edges it out. But man, is it close. Alistair is like such a himbo. Alistair can be judgmental a little bit, but I feel like also at the same time we've had Saint, you know what I'm saying, with his interactions with some of the Fallen, be a little bit of a kind of a dick as well. So I think every character has a little bit of that balance in there. But I kind of agree. I'll go with Saint on this one as well. Saint makes it to the finals. And now this one is also tough. We got Mirage versus Hildebrandt. And I I don't know who to pick here. I'm pretty much lost in the sauce. Mirage is a character who I've always thought of as kind of like that doofy, um, himbo nature. But man, Hildebrandt is different. He's a different kind of cat. And I feel like he is. I mean, partially it feels like Hildebrandt is making fun of himbos. Like he is. Um, he is an exaggeration on purpose. Whereas Mirage feels like a more well rounded character who happens to be a himbo. You know what I'm saying? Like, for that reason, I think I would vote for Mirage because Hildebrandt kind of leans into that stereotype so much that he's just too over the top for me personally. All right, looks like we're going with Mirage, and I think ultimately it comes down to Hildebrandt is probably the wildest character, but yeah, he is comic relief and not like one of the a central important character with the layers that Mirage has. Saint 14 versus Mirage. I could flip a coin. You know, this one is the probably the two. It was either going to be Saint or Alistair versus Mirage, in my opinion, for this battle in the finals. So I'm not surprised by this. This tournament has had really no upsets. But this one is interesting. I might lean Saint just a tad. Saint 14 is, as a character, I think, because he's so like dangerous and so badass, does that take away his himbo nature? Whereas Mirage, even in the midst of combat, is still cracking wise, being kind of a doof. Like no, even when you're playing Apex Legends, he still embodies that himbo nature, and because of that, I have to agree. I think we have our winner. We have our winner, and it is Mirage.
It is me.
Oh, you always win. Love you. Have fun. No, I agree with that. I think ultimately we came to the right call. Is like it's close, and I love Saint 14, but like ultimately Mirage has got to take the dub.